Shizuki, an introverted middle schooler, often found himself the subject of gossip. One day, he overheard a group of girls mocking him. They teased one of their friends for speaking to him, calling him creepy. The girl, with a cruel smile, agreed, adding that associating with someone like Shizuki only made her look better. Their laughter stung, leaving Shizuki with a painful realization: he was seen as worthless. This moment marked a turning point, showing him the cruelty behind appearances and deepening his feelings of isolation. Years later, Shizuki is now in high school. He sits quietly in class, focused on his notes, when a boy reminds him it's time to go to the cafeteria. Shizuki calmly responds that he'll join them after finishing his work. The boy jokes about Shizuki's slow pace, to which Shizuki explains it's harder to see from the back. As the boy leaves, Shizuki feels a sense of accomplishment. His plan to reinvent himself is working. Since starting high school, he's successfully integrated into a social circle he once only dreamed of. To him, this is a personal victory after the misery he endured in middle school. His hard work has paid off. No one here knows about his past, except for one person. Shizuka Kusunoki, a girl from his middle school, also attends the same high school. Known for her beauty and rumored popularity, some even say she's a model. Although Shizuki has never spoken to her, he feels an unspoken connection. They used to spend time in the library, and in his mind they're alike. But he reminds himself of his vow to avoid beautiful women, a lesson he learned the hard way. As he leaves the classroom, he tells himself that even though both he and Kusunoki came from the bottom, they have no reason to acknowledge it. As Shizuki walks down the hall, Kusunoki suddenly appears in front of him, calling his name. Startled, Shizuki freezes as the other students' attention shifts toward them. Kusunoki, visibly upset, apologizes and asks for his help. Shizuki is caught off guard, unsure why she's speaking to him so openly. To his surprise, tears form in her eyes as she explains she's in trouble and only he can understand her situation. Shizuki, struggling to comprehend, wonders why she's come to him after all this time. Kusunoki then comments that Shizuki has changed since middle school, which causes him to blurt out that she's changed too. Embarrassed by his outburst, he quickly apologizes, but Kusunoki's expression softens. She asks if he's okay, not realizing she has unknowingly triggered an old wound for Shizuki. Ever since that day in middle school, making eye contact with beautiful girls causes him physical discomfort. Despite this, Shizuki reassures her he's fine and suggests they talk somewhere quieter. The two find a bench in a nearby park, where Kusunoki opens up. She admits that, despite her outward transformation, she still feels like the same person inside. She's been avoiding others, but it's becoming harder to keep up the facade. Shizuki, reflecting on their shared past, listens carefully. He wonders if she sought him out because of this unspoken connection, and she confirms his suspicion. Shizuki tries to offer support, admitting he also struggles with fitting in. But to his surprise, Kusunoki disagrees. She tells him she admires how effortlessly he interacts with their classmates, unaware of the inner battles he still faces. Shizuki is puzzled by Kusunoki's admission, assuming she has friends like anyone else. However, Kusunoki reveals that, despite interacting with people, she doesn't feel close to anyone and believes the girls in their class avoid her. Shizuki, who always thought she was popular, is surprised. He had seen her surrounded by boys, but now realizes that her situation mirrors his own. Kusunoki continues, explaining that even though she changed her appearance, it doesn't matter if she remains the same inside. She confesses that she was isolated in middle school because she thought she was a bad person. Hearing this, Shizuki is reminded of his own past and suddenly urges her to be more confident. Caught off guard by his intensity, Kusunoki listens as Shizuki asks why she wanted a fresh start in high school. He points out that her efforts to change show how much she cares. Encouraging her to take small steps, he assures her that with practice, interacting with others will get easier. Midway through his words, Shizuki realizes he's speaking to her without feeling sick, which leaves him both confused and relieved. As he prepares to leave, Kusunoki stops him and asks how she should take those small steps. After a moment's thought, Shizuki suggests that making one real friend could lead to more. Out of the blue, Kusunoki asks if he would be her friend. Taken aback, Shizuki wonders why she's so eager and hesitates. He suspects that once she improves her social skills, she'll become even more popular and might not need him. Still, seeing her vulnerability, he he reluctantly agrees. Kusunoki is overcome with emotion, thanking him tearfully. Shizuki, feeling uncertain, tells her their friendship is temporary, just until she makes other friends. Kusunoki remains cheerful, saying she's happy either way. Shizuki, confused by her response, reflects on how her presence no longer triggers his symptoms. He thinks that if their friendship doesn't worsen his condition, perhaps it's not a bad thing, though he doubts it will change much between them. The next day at lunch, Kusunoki unexpectedly sits across from Shizuki, catching him off guard. He's irritated by the attention and the whispers from their classmates, who seem to misinterpret the situation. Kusunoki, smiling as usual, mentions that she's always wanted to eat with a friend. Shizuki is thrown by her sincerity, and moments later, his friends tease him, leaving him more frustrated. Kusunoki innocently asks what's wrong, and Shizuki, feeling defeated, mutters that he has nothing to say. Despite his irritation, Shizuki feels sorry for Kusunoki, who has never had the experience of eating with a friend. He decides to go along with it, just for today. With a soft expression, Kusunoki asks if she can call him by his first name, since they're friends now. Shizuki, bewildered, hesitates but eventually tells her she can. He then stands up and offers to get drinks for them, and Kusunoki happily joins him. As they walk through the hallway, Shizuki remains unsure of what their new friendship will mean for his life. But things take a sudden turn when they encounter his old bully from middle school. Instantly, Shizuki feels his chest tighten as painful memories rush back, reminding him of the torment he once endured. Kusunoki, concerned, asked Shizuki if he was all right. He turned around, his face full of horror, struggling to believe what was happening. The person who had caused him so much trauma stood right in front of him. He remembered searching through all the names on the class roster, confident that he hadn't seen the name Hebikawa Rarisa anywhere. Yet here she was. Another girl soon called out to Hebikawa, asking what was going on. Hebikawa then turned to Shizuki, asking if he was fine, which made him quickly hide his face, muttering that he was. After that, she addressed Kusunoki, inquiring if she was his friend. Kusunoki replied affirmatively, and Hebikawa, noticing Shizuki's discomfort, suggested that he might need to visit the infirmary. Moving closer, she advised him to take care of himself, and after saying this, she calmly walked away. Shizuki watched her leave, feeling a growing sense of confusion. Her voice, the look in her eyes, and even the ribbon in her hair triggered something in him. There was no denying it, she was definitely the same person from his past. His head started spinning with anxiety, knowing that his peaceful high school days might now be over. Kusunoki, still concerned for him, suggested they go to the infirmary, noticing how unwell he seemed. She even offered to help him if he couldn't walk, but Shizuki, still reeling from the encounter with Hebikawa, suddenly declared that he wouldn't let things end like this. His outburst took Kusunoki by surprise, but he continued, saying he wasn't going to let Hebikawa ruin his life. He explained that he had come to high school with the goal of starting over, and that his past with her had been left behind long ago. When Shizuki made this loud declaration, Kusunoki was left in a state of shock, unable to fully comprehend what he was talking about. However, out of fear or confusion, she agreed with everything he said. She then asked if he was feeling any better, and Shizuki replied that he was. He realized that if he could stay focused on his school life, he might still be able to maintain the peace he had found. With this in mind, he became determined to protect the high school life he had worked so hard to build. As the school day came to an end and students lingered in the classroom, Kusunoki approached Shizuki with a bright expression on her face. She asked if they could walk home together, her request catching him off guard. It wasn't a simple thing for Shizuki, especially since the other students had overheard her. Surprised by her question, they all turned their attention towards him, waiting for his reaction. Shizuki stammered, unsure how to respond to Kusunoki's request. Sensing his hesitation, Kusunoki asked if he had other plans. In a panic, Shizuki lied, saying yes. Smiling sweetly, she told him that if that were the case, it was fine, and that she could wait for him. Her genuine smile filled him with guilt, as it seemed too pure for the situation. Meanwhile, a group of boys from the class walked over, playfully teasing Shizuki about the idea of going home with Kusunoki. One of them placed a hand on Shizuki's shoulder, making a comment about how close they seemed. Another boy then asked if Shizuki was dating Kusunoki. Stunned by the question, Shizuki's mind raced. If these popular students started noticing him too much, his situation could get worse. He quickly denied the dating rumors and ran out of the classroom. The boys watched him go, jokingly remarking that it was a shame he had to go home that day. They then turned to Kusunoki, suggesting she join them instead. As Shizuki walked down the streets later, he muttered to himself, still in a bad mood. It had been a terrible day, and nothing seemed to be going right. He also felt guilty for leaving Kusunoki behind. While he walked, lost in his thoughts, he suddenly heard someone call out to him. Turning around, he was surprised to see Kusunoki running after him. She greeted him politely, and Shizuki, still confused, asked why she had followed him. She explained that she had been chasing after him and was tired from running. Puzzled, Shizuki asked if she had really run all that way just to catch up with him, wondering why she would go to such lengths. With a cute smile, she explained that she simply wanted to go home with him. Her words made Shizuki nervous. He placed his hand on his face, unsure how to react. Kusunoki, noticing his discomfort, asked if he disliked the idea. He quickly denied it, but raised his voice as he explained that it wasn't normal for a guy and a girl to go home together like that, even if they were friends. Kusunoki was clearly shocked by his statement. Shizuki continued, adding that even eating lunch together wasn't ideal for them. When she asked why it was such a problem, he explained that people might get the wrong idea about their relationship. After saying this, Shizuki resumed walking, telling Kusunoki not to talk to him too much in the classroom from now on. He hoped she understood the situation, even if she didn't like it. Still, Kusunoki wasn't discouraged. She called out to him again and explained that she hadn't had many opportunities to talk to people at school and was struggling to make friends. She then politely asked if she could start calling him at night. Shizuki, surprised, turned back to her. She clarified that phone calls would be a way for them to talk without people misunderstanding their relationship. Repeating her request, she asked if that would be all right. Shizuki hesitated, feeling conflicted. He wasn't sure if it was appropriate to have phone conversations with a female friend at night, or if he was just overthinking the situation. Kusunoki continued to ask, her tone soft and polite, while Shizuki looked at her, still confused and unsure of what to do. Late at night, Shizuki lay on his bed, staring at his phone. It was already past midnight, and his mind wandered to Kusunoki. Her phone number was saved in his contacts now, something that still felt strange to him. He thought back to when she had asked if they could talk on the phone. At that moment, Shizuki had been unsure of what to make of her request, but he had agreed. Now, both of them had each other's numbers. When Kusunoki saw his name appear on her screen, she had been amazed and then politely asked if she could call him that night. Shizuki had been taken by surprise but told her he would call her instead. She had agreed with a sweet smile, telling him she would be waiting for his call. But Shizuki had said this not out of convenience but because he needed time to mentally prepare himself. Now, lying there, he debated what to do next. He didn't want to make the call and didn't even know what they would talk about. He hadn't spoken to her in so long that he felt completely out of his depth. As he pondered, his eyes fell on the alarm clock. Setting it for 10 minutes, he decided to limit the conversation to that time. Gathering his courage, he made the call. When Kusunoki answered, Shizuki greeted her, introducing himself awkwardly. Kusunoki responded with her name, and the conversation quickly hit a lull. Shizuki apologized for calling so late, but Kusunoki reassured him, thanking him for taking the time to call. Silence followed, and Shizuki realized how awkward things were. He needed to say something, anything, to keep the conversation going. Desperate, he brought up the weather, asking if it was colder than the day before. Kusunoki agreed that it was, and Shizuki mentioned that he wasn't a fan of cold weather. He then asked about her preference, to which she simply replied that she didn't mind it. Feeling uncomfortable, Shizuki noted the lack of detail in her answers. The conversation was becoming more awkward by the minute. With only 5 minutes left on the clock, he scrambled to find a safer topic and asked her about her hobbies. Kusunoki, now more engaged, told him she liked watching anime and reading manga. This surprised Shizuki, and he admitted that he also enjoyed those things. Curious, he asked what genre she liked. Kusunoki then launched into an enthusiastic and detailed explanation about her favorite series. Listening to her go on, Shizuki found himself feeling overwhelmed. Her excitement contrasted sharply with how quiet she had been earlier. He commented that she sounded like a stereotypical otaku, which she took in stride, asking him what his favorite manga was. Shizuki thought back to his childhood and mentioned that he liked a series called Nova. To his surprise, Kusunoki replied that she also loved it and owned all the volumes. Just then, his alarm clock went off. Shizuki hurried to stop the noise, but Kusunoki, curious, asked about the sound. He brushed it off, saying it was nothing, and then shifted the topic, mentioning a rumor he had heard about a third part of Nova being serialized next year. Kusunoki's interest piqued even more, and she asked him to tell her everything about it. The next day, sitting in class, Shizuki felt groggy. He glanced at his phone and noticed the call timer from his conversation with Kusunoki. To his shock, it had lasted for an hour and 32 minutes. He couldn't believe how long they had talked and felt slightly unsettled by how naturally the conversation had flowed once it picked up. He reassured himself, thinking that it made sense since they shared similar interests as fellow otakus. While Shizuki was lost in thought, Kusunoki walked into the classroom. He noticed immediately that she looked gloomy, a stark contrast to her usual cheerful self. This surprised him. As she placed her bag on the desk and greeted him, Shizuki responded kindly but couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. He wondered what could have happened, given how happy she had been the night before. Still, he reminded himself not to get too involved. During school hours, he resolved to avoid interacting with her too much, fearing the complications it could bring. Despite his decision, Shizuki found himself unable to stop glancing at her. As the school day ended and students began packing to leave, he saw her in the corridor. Against his better judgment, he called out to her. She turned, asking if something was wrong. Shizuki hesitated but eventually mentioned that she seemed down today, a fact that had been bothering him. Even though he had planned to avoid her, he realized that saying nothing would only make things more uncomfortable for him. Kusunoki began talking about their phone call from the previous night. She admitted that she had realized she was the one doing all the talking and that it had made her feel guilty. With a sad expression, she apologized, her regret evident on her face. Shizuki, stunned by her reaction, quickly reassured her. He explained that their phone calls were meant to help her get used to talking more, so there was no need for her to feel bad. It wasn't a big deal. But Kusunoki remained upset, sitting down and expressing how the conversation had felt one-sided. She confessed that while she had enjoyed it, she felt awful thinking she was the only one who did. Shizuki, feeling sympathy for her, told her not to apologize. In fact, he admitted, the conversation had been surprisingly enjoyable for him, too. Kusunoki seemed taken aback by his words, and for a moment, the tension between them eased. Suddenly, Shizuki's friends, Harino and Tsuji, appeared. Shizuki was startled by their arrival, and they teased him, asking what he was up to. They mentioned that they had been looking for him since he had disappeared on them. Approaching closer, they asked if they were interrupting something. One of them even joked that Shizuki seemed to be forgetting about his friends. Shizuki, flustered, assured them that it wasn't like that. Harino then asked directly what his relationship with Kusunoki was. Panicked, Shizuki quickly bid Kusunoki farewell, leaving her visibly surprised by his abrupt behavior. He told her to head home, and she agreed, though she seemed a bit confused. His friends looked disappointed, pressing him once more to clarify if he was really not going with her. They even apologized for their earlier teasing. Shizuki reassured them again, insisting that he wasn't involved in anything romantic. As they walked away, Kusunoki, already some distance off, suddenly stopped and called out to Shizuki. With a cheerful smile, she told him that she had really enjoyed their time together last night. Then, she waved and wished him goodbye. Shizuki stood frozen, his friends now staring at him with a mix of surprise and amusement. They exchanged glances before teasing him, saying it seemed like he had indeed enjoyed himself last night. Shizuki, growing more flustered, quickly tried to explain that nothing of the sort had happened, insisting it was all just a misunderstanding. In class, Harino looked at Shizuki with a serious expression and asked if he had really done nothing with Kusunoki. Shizuki tried to remain calm and repeated that their relationship wasn't like that. Harino admitted that he didn't fully trust him, which only gave Shizuki a headache. He couldn't help but think that Kusunoki's vague comments were partly to blame for the confusion. Tsuji chimed in, pointing out that Shizuki was the only guy Kusunoki called by his first name, and they seemed unusually close. Tsuji added that, in his opinion, they looked quite intimate. Shizuki explained that he and Kusunoki just happened to attend the same middle school and that she was the girl he felt closest to among his friends. Harino seemed surprised to hear this, saying Shizuki was lucky to have gone to school with her. He commented that Kusunoki must have been pretty back then, and wished he could have seen her. Frustrated by the conversation, Shizuki stood up and loudly told them to stop talking about it. Harino and Tsuji exchanged confused looks. Harino then expressed his desire to get along with Kusunoki as well. He asked Shizuki if he could arrange for them to have lunch together. Shizuki stepped forward and firmly declined the offer. He thought it was out of the question since Kusunoki struggled with communication, and Harino couldn't sit still. As Shizuki made his way down the stairs, the thought of Kusunoki and Harino meeting caused a headache to form. However, he quickly realized that if they could get along, he wouldn't need to worry about Kusunoki making friends. He figured that if he could facilitate that connection, it would remove one threat to his peaceful high school life. Just then, Hebikawa approached from the other side of the corridor, and they accidentally bumped into each other, causing her books to scatter all over the floor. Shizuki quickly apologized and asked if she was okay. When he looked at her, he was shocked to find her sitting on the floor. Hebikawa remarked that they seemed to keep bumping into each other, and added with a cute smile that it felt like they had a habit of meeting this way. Suddenly, feeling overwhelmed, Shizuki bowed his head and shouted in frustration. Hebikawa looked surprised by his reaction. At that moment, Tsuji arrived, taking in the scene. He noted that Shizuki appeared to be having quite a meltdown. Tsuji stepped closer and asked what was going on. Hebikawa explained that she thought Shizuki had suddenly gotten sick. Tsuji was taken aback by this. Hebikawa then turned to Shizuki and politely asked if he could stand. She requested Tsuji's help to pick up the scattered books. As they gathered the books together, Hebikawa smiled sweetly and commented on how they were such good friends. Before leaving, she told Shizuki to take care of himself, leaving him to ponder their interaction as she walked away. Tsuji suddenly grabbed Shizuki and asked if he was friends with Hebikawa. Shizuki, trembling a bit, insisted that Tsuji was mistaken and that he had no connection with her. Later, Harino asked Tsuji if he knew Hebikawa. Tsuji replied that he did and explained that he was aware of all the pretty girls in their year. He mentioned that Hebikawa was from class 8 and was rumored to be the second prettiest girl in their year. Curious, Harino then asked who the first prettiest girl was. Tsuji confidently said it was Kusunoki. Shizuki turned to Tsuji, a bit annoyed, and asked if that meant he should be grateful for getting along with Kusunoki. Tsuji nodded, adding that he would like a chance to get to know her better. He then asked Shizuki to help him out in making that happen. Shizuki agreed to ask Kusunoki about it, and Tsuji seemed pleased with that answer. Later, when Shizuki called Kusunoki to ask if they could have lunch together, she declined, stating that she wasn't interested. This caught Shizuki by surprise. He couldn't believe she was really rejecting his invitation. When he asked her why, Kusunoki wanted to know what he wanted to discuss, as he had mentioned needing to ask her something. Shizuki explained that he thought it would be a good opportunity for her to improve her communication skills, suggesting she had nothing to lose by participating. Kusunoki then clarified that when she mentioned eating together, she meant it would just be her and Harino. Shizuki informed her that Tsuji would also be joining them and politely asked if she was comfortable with having more people around. He reassured her that Harino would be a better friend to her than he was. To his surprise, Kusunoki disagreed. She insisted that if they were going to have lunch together, Shizuki should be there too. If he wasn't coming, then she wouldn't either. Shizuki could sense her sadness and asked if she was upset with him. He felt guilty and apologized, thinking it was his fault for her distress. Kusunoki responded that she was going to sleep and abruptly hung up the call. Shizuki stared at his phone, realizing that their conversation had lasted about 15 minutes. He felt puzzled, wondering if she was angry with him or if he had said something wrong. Meanwhile, Kusunoki sat on the floor, feeling sad by the exchange. The following day, Shizuki and Kusunoki made their way to the cafeteria for lunch, joined by their friends Tsuji and Harino. Once they settled around the table, Harino excitedly exclaimed that everything tasted especially good that day. He turned to Tsuji for his take, but Tsuji, maintaining his usual relaxed demeanor, shrugged it off, saying the food wasn't anything special as he sipped his juice. As Shizuki looked around the table, he couldn't help but notice how animated Harino seemed. His gaze shifted to Kusunoki, who sat quietly, her expression downcast. A wave of concern washed over him. She looked miserable, and he realized she hadn't spoken a word yet. Just then, Harino broke the silence and asked Kusunoki if she had gone to the same middle school as Shizuki. Kusunoki looked taken aback by the question. Shizuki quickly explained that although they had both attended the same middle school, they were in different classes and only started talking after entering high school. Suji chimed in, pointing out that this meant they hadn't been friends for very long. Harino then stood up with a puzzled smile on his face and nervously declared that he also wanted to be friends with Kusunoki. He extended his hand for a handshake and asked for her contact information, offering his number in return. The suddenness of his gesture left everyone in stunned silence. Kusunoki didn't respond right away, making Harino realize she was ignoring him. He quickly apologized for his abrupt approach. Shizuki observed the unfolding scene and turned to Kusunoki, assuring her that it was fine. He believed she and Harino would make good friends and added that once she got to know Harino, she would see he was a serious and nice guy. Though Kusunoki remained silent and confused, she trusted Shizuki's words and agreed to give it a try, stating that if Shizuki thought so, she could manage it. Suji and Harino looked astonished at her response. Harino quickly thanked Kusunoki for her kindness and asked her to wait, explaining that he didn't have his phone with him. Shizuki pointed out that it was probably in the classroom. Harino promised he'd return shortly. Later, Shizuki stood with Harino, who clasped his hands in front of him, genuinely thanking Shizuki for helping him establish a friendship with Kusunoki. Shizuki modestly replied that he hadn't done much, but Harino insisted that it was all thanks to him. He was surprised he had actually exchanged contact information with Kusunoki. Shizuki couldn't help but notice the unusual happiness radiating from Harino. It was clear he genuinely liked Kusunoki. With a smile, Shizuki remarked that Harino was experiencing the joys of youth. He then politely asked if they were finished, and if they should head back to class. Just then, Harino paused him with another request. Shizuki felt a bit anxious, wondering what it could be. Harino simply wanted to have lunch with Kusunoki again. Shizuki agreed and sent a message to Kusunoki on Harino's behalf. As he typed the message, a wave of irritation surged within him. He felt that Harino should be the one asking Kusunoki directly, but he sent it anyway because Harino had pleaded, saying he was too shy to make the request himself. Shizuki pondered why, if Harino was too shy to ask for lunch, he would want Kusunoki's phone number at all. During class, Shizuki noticed Kusunoki nearby. When she picked up her phone, he saw she had read his message. He gestured for her attention, but when she looked up, she suddenly averted her gaze and appeared sad, saying nothing. Shizuki felt a jolt of confusion at her reaction. Worry began to settle in. Maybe Kusunoki was ignoring him, and he couldn't shake the feeling that she might be upset. Just then, Suji approached to say goodbye as the school day ended. Shizuki returned the farewell quietly. Kusunoki stood up, grabbed her bag, and walked outside. Realizing that Kusunoki had been acting strangely since their phone call the day before, Shizuki felt a wave of anxiety wash over him. He told himself he needed to stop overthinking things about girls and get a grip. He resolved not to let Kusunoki's mood affect him, whether she was angry or not. As Kusunoki left the school, Shizuki followed her, and soon they found themselves standing together on the street. With a polite but nervous look, Kusunoki asked him what was wrong. Shizuki remained silent, staring at the ground. Although he hesitated to question her behavior, he eventually asked why she was ignoring him. Kusunoki simply replied with a question of her own, asking if they should continue talking to each other. This response left Shizuki bewildered. She pointed out that he was the one who said she shouldn't talk to him at school. Hearing this filled him with guilt. He realized she had a point. She then turned and began to walk away, stating that she knew he hated her. Shizuki was taken aback by her accusation. Kusunoki glanced back, adding that she could tell he was pushing her toward his other friends. Sadly, she stated that she knew he wanted to end their friendship, which was why she had been acting the way she had. In that moment, Shizuki realized she might be right. Even though he had reached out to her when she was struggling, he acknowledged that his own feelings had overshadowed hers. Memories from childhood resurfaced, times when he had approached others with hope, only to be rejected. He understood how deeply such actions could hurt someone. Determined to make amends, Shizuki walked up to Kusunoki, sincerely apologizing and asking for her forgiveness. She sat down on the ground, still looking sad, and admitted that she struggled to talk to boys. She revealed that she had been bullied in middle school, which made boys seem intimidating to her. Shizuki pointed out that he was a boy too, but Kusunoki quickly responded, insisting he was different from the others. She explained that they had often been in the library together and shared a class. She never expected to start high school with him or discover so many common interests. Kusunoki shared that she felt comfortable around Shizuki, which was why she was okay with him being her only male friend, despite wanting to make more friends. Overcome with emotion, Shizuki sat down beside her and began to cry, expressing that he understood and would stop trying so hard to find other friends for her. Kusunoki thanked him, and in that moment, Shizuki felt his heart pounding loudly in his chest. To his surprise, Kusunoki revealed that her heart was racing too. She gave him a warm smile and noted that this was the first disagreement she'd ever had with a friend. Shizuki realized it was the first time he had experienced something similar with a female friend, and it made his heart race even faster. Kusunoki then stood up and politely asked if they could continue talking, even at school. Shizuki agreed, happy to oblige. As she walked away with a light heart, he watched her, still puzzled and wondering about the reason behind the intense pounding of his heart.
The next day, while everyone is in class, a cheerful-looking teacher enters and announces the school's traditional dodgeball tournament. To help the new students get familiar with each other, every class will compete, and teams will be decided by drawing lots. Shizuki feels disappointed. The teachers clearly see them as kids if they're organizing a dodgeball game. The thought of being chosen worries him. Messing up in front of everyone would be humiliating. If their class competes, Hebikawa will be there too, making things even worse. His anxiety grows. When it's time to draw, Shizuki steps forward, tense. Holding the lot tightly, he prays not to be chosen. Later, he and the others sit on the stairs. Shizuki stays quiet while Tsuji and Harino talk excitedly. Tsuji drinks his juice and mentions that Shizuki was lucky, adding that he wishes he could play too. Shizuki, still uneasy, just says he wants to go home. Tsuji agrees, saying cheering from the sidelines is boring. Harino claps his hands and tells them to get hyped. Their energy is too low. Saying this, he moves up the stairs, ready for action. Tsuji asks why Harino is so excited, reminding him that he didn't even make the team and should calm down. Grinning, Harino says there's more to this than just the game. Normally, they don't have physical education with the girls, but today, they get a full display of them in workout clothes. He happily adds that this alone makes it worth it. Tsuji and Shizuki remain uninterested, staring ahead. Seeing their lack of reaction, Harino gets annoyed and tells them not to ignore him. Before they can respond, Kusunoki arrives and calls out to Shizuki, saying she finally found him. Dressed casually, she catches Harino off guard. She explains that the teachers are about to go over the rules and want all team members in the gym. She then asks if Shizuki wants to go with her. Before he can answer, Harino quickly speaks up, saying Shizuki will go and orders him to leave immediately. Surprised, Shizuki realizes that Kusunoki must have been chosen too. He tells her he hasn't finished eating yet and suggests she go ahead. Harino, now serious, warns him that refusing Kusunoki's invitations is not an option and orders him to go. With no choice, Shizuki reluctantly gets up and follows her. As they walk, Kusunoki asks if he's sure it's okay. Shizuki reassures her and tells her not to worry. When he looks at her properly, he notices her face seems to be glowing. He comments that she looks excited. Kusunoki seems surprised. Shizuki explains that he thought she wouldn't be into events like this. With a confused expression, she admits he's right, she doesn't like them. Then, smiling, she adds that this time might be fun since they'll be playing together. Shizuki is caught off guard. His face suddenly feels hot, and he quickly turns away, assuming it must just be a particularly warm day. They arrive at the gathering area, where the teacher stands in front of the students. She cheerfully announces that Class A's first match is against Class B. Hearing this, Shizuki tenses up, muttering that he can't handle it. Suddenly, Harino appears behind him, chiding him for giving up before the match even starts. He orders Shizuki to show some fighting spirit. Shizuki, stunned, asks why Harino is even here since he wasn't supposed to play. Grinning, Harino explains that he switched with someone who didn't want to participate. Then, proudly, he declares that his greatest mission is to personally protect Kusunoki. Shizuki wonders why Harino didn't just switch with him instead. Meanwhile, some guys overhear Harino's declaration and immediately protest, insisting that they also want to protect Kusunoki. Annoyed, they call out Harino for being too full of himself. Frustrated, Harino turns to Shizuki and warns him not to get the wrong idea. There's no way he's letting Shizuki beat him. Shizuki, still confused, asks if they aren't supposed to be teammates. As they argue, a group of girls nearby watches with irritation. One of them comments that the boys are being annoying. Another girl mutters that it's all because of Kusunoki and calls the boys in their class idiots. Someone else agrees, adding that Kusunoki is always at the center of these things and, from what she can tell, she's a man-eater. Kusunoki lowers her head in shame, deeply hurt. Shizuki notices and steps closer, concerned. He politely asks if something is wrong. Snapping out of it, Kusunoki gives herself a quick slap on the cheeks and assures him she's fine. The teams line up. Shizuki glances around nervously as the teacher announces the match between Class A and Class B. Harino is excited, but Shizuki is more worried about Hebikawa. He scans the opposing team but doesn't see her anywhere, neither with her team nor behind the lines. A sense of relief washes over him. Maybe she didn't come to school today. Thanking God silently, he feels genuinely happy that she hasn't shown up. Then, the teacher looks around, confused, and asks if someone is missing. Shizuki, feigning innocence, asks who isn't here. Before the teacher can answer, the sound of approaching footsteps echoes through the gym. Hebikawa walks in and Shizuki's relief vanishes instantly. Smiling, Hebikawa apologizes for the wait, explaining that it took her some time to change clothes, but hopes everything is fine now. Despite the delay, the teacher seems pleased by her dramatic entrance and reminds her to be more punctual next time. Then, she instructs everyone to line up. As Shizuki watches Hebikawa, sweat forms on his forehead. His anxiety spikes. Tsuji, also watching her, mutters that he couldn't ask for a better spectacle. Shizuki, filled with dread, mutters that this is the worst possible outcome. He forces himself to stay calm, thinking through his options. There's only one logical course of action, and he needs to act fast. The match begins. Players move quickly, the ball bouncing between them. Shizuki positions himself to catch it, ready to take control. Before he can react, Harino steps in front of him and grabs the ball. Grinning, he tells Shizuki that today is his moment to shine. Annoyed, Shizuki glares at him. Harino, completely unfazed, adds that he needs to impress Kusunoki with his skills. He throws the ball with confidence, only for it to slip from his hand. Instead of hitting his intended target, it flies straight toward Hebikawa. Both Harino and Shizuki freeze in shock. Just as the ball is about to hit her, another player dashes in and blocks it at the last second. With an air of arrogance, he declares that he's the one who will protect Hebikawa. Turning to her, he calmly assures her that he'll take care of anyone who tries to target her. Hebikawa smiles sweetly and thanks him. Fueled by rage, the player grabs the ball and hurls it straight at Harino. The impact sends him crashing to the ground. Shizuki watches in concern as Harino lies there motionless. Meanwhile, the opposing team grows more aggressive. Determined to win, they start hitting players relentlessly, even targeting the girls. Chaos erupts on the field. After some time, only 4 players remain, Shizuki and Kusunoki on one side, Hebikawa and the guy who saved her on the other. Shizuki scans the field, searching for an opening. The other players cheer loudly, hyped by how the match has boiled down to this final showdown. Frustrated, Shizuki thinks this is the final stretch and he's still stuck in it. He wonders what his next move should be. From the sidelines, Harino shouts at him to play hard and make sure Kusunoki doesn't get hurt. Shizuki knows they've made it this far, but they need to stay defensive until the very end. The thought of having to cover for Kusunoki as well makes him feel trapped. As he hesitates, Kusunoki suddenly steps forward, standing fearlessly in front of the opposing player. Shizuki, startled, tells her not to stand there, worried about her safety. He warns that it's too dangerous to be so close to someone like that. The opposing player smirks, saying he won't go easy just because she's a girl. Without hesitation, he throws the ball at full force. Seeing it coming, Shizuki reacts instinctively. He rushes forward and jumps in front of Kusunoki, taking the hit himself. The impact sends him crashing to the ground. Kusunoki stares in shock at his sudden act of bravery. Lying on the floor, Shizuki groans in pain, regretting that he couldn't catch the ball. He wonders what kind of person throws such a hard shot at a girl. If he hadn't intervened, Kusunoki would have taken the full impact. The thought lingers as he remembers his earlier frustration with her. Kusunoki quickly kneels beside him, her expression filled with concern. She gently asks if he's okay and apologizes. Noticing a scratch on his arm, she gasps and insists that he needs to go to the nurse's office immediately. Shizuki brushes it off, saying he's fine, but warns her to stay away from that aggressive player. He advises her to play more defensively for her own safety. Kusunoki doesn't listen. Instead, she grabs the ball, determination burning in her eyes. She declares that she's going to avenge Shizuki. Shizuki is stunned by her sudden resolve. With a surge of anger, Kusunoki launches the ball straight at the guy who injured Shizuki. The impact is brutal, he collapses on the spot, completely knocked out. The entire field goes silent. The other players watch in disbelief, exclaiming that what just happened is impossible. Hebikawa watches the fallen player in silence. The teacher announces that Kusunoki's performance was incredible, having taken out 2 players on her own, and declares Class A the winners. Kusunoki turns to Shizuki with a sweet smile. Shizuki, caught off guard, bows his head and mutters that things turned out better than expected. He wonders if Kusunoki was always this formidable. Nearby, the other girls check on Hebikawa, asking if she's all right after Kusunoki's hit. One girl comments that Kusunoki is a real wild card. Another girl laughs and asks Hebikawa if her arm is broken. Hebikawa glares at her and angrily demands to know why she's laughing. The girl quickly apologizes. Later, as Shizuki and his friends walk together, Tsuji remarks that he never expected them to win the match. Harino, in high spirits, praises Kusunoki, saying he never imagined she would be so impressive. Shizuki, feeling off, watches them quietly. Harino suddenly remembers that he forgot to greet Kusunoki and plans to go over. Tsuji suggests he drop it, pointing out that something unusual is happening. When Shizuki turns to look, he is taken aback by the crowd of guys surrounding Kusunoki, all eager to praise her bravery. Shizuki, surprised by her sudden popularity, considers stepping in to help her out. Watching the scene, Harino comments on how quickly she has become admired. Tsuji agrees, comparing Kusunoki to the main character of a story while they feel like minor players from a different world. Nudging Harino, Tsuji suggests they leave before they end up bothering her. As they head out, Shizuki lingers for a moment, still concerned about Kusunoki. Lowering his gaze, he follows his friends outside, thinking about Tsuji's words. As Shizuki stands lost in thought, Kusunoki suddenly approaches and asks if she has done something to upset him. Startled, he steps back and tells her she scared him, asking for a moment to catch his breath. Kusunoki notes that their eyes had met earlier and that he seemed to be avoiding her. Shizuki reassures her, explaining that he only stepped outside to give her space, not to avoid her. Kusunoki moves closer and gently tells him that he is never a bother to her. Shizuki is caught off guard by her words. Seeing the tears forming in her eyes, he watches as she admits that she actually wanted him to reach out. She explains that being surrounded by so many people felt overwhelming, and she thought she might faint. Shizuki takes in her expression and understands what she means. Suddenly, Kusunoki lowers her head and lets out a small cry. Concerned, Shizuki asks what's wrong. She looks up with a soft smile and says she feels relieved now that they've had a chance to talk. Shizuki, feeling a wave of relief himself, tells her he's also glad they could share this moment. A faint noise catches his attention. Kusunoki curiously asks if he said something. Shizuki shakes his head and tells her to ignore it. Smiling, he turns away and reminds her to go change her clothes, saying they'll meet again. Kusunoki, puzzled by his comment, walks away but finds herself dwelling on it. If he tells her to ignore something, it will only stay in her mind longer. As she mulls over his words, Hebikawa suddenly appears from another room. Kusunoki is surprised and recognizes her as the girl from Class B. Hebikawa introduces herself, and Kusunoki, having noticed her during the game, finds her even more striking up close. Her gaze falls on Hebikawa's bandaged arm. Concerned, Kusunoki asks if she was injured. Hebikawa confirms that her arm swelled up after the match and smiles, commenting that Kusunoki is stronger than she looks. Kusunoki, feeling guilty, jokingly offers to let Hebikawa boil or fry her as compensation. Hebikawa laughs and reassures her that it's nothing serious, saying the pain is already gone. Stepping closer, Hebikawa tells Kusunoki that she finds her truly interesting and admits that she has been thinking about her for some time. Kusunoki, caught off guard, stares at her in surprise. Hebikawa then politely asks if they could be friends, leaving Kusunoki stunned by the unexpected request. Kusunoki gives a confused smile and asks if Hebikawa really means they're going to be friends. Hebikawa confirms with a warm smile, saying she's happy to befriend such a cute girl. Kusunoki, feeling nervous about the sudden bond, hesitates but ultimately agrees, asking Hebikawa to take care of her. Hebikawa then requests to be called Rarisa instead, explaining that she dislikes her last name. Kusunoki agrees and suggests she call her Shizuka in return. They exchange smiles and begin walking together, pleased with their newfound friendship. Suddenly, Kusunoki pauses, deep in thought. Realizing she needs to tell Shizuki, she politely asks Hebikawa if they can put their friendship on hold for now. Later that night, Kusunoki calls Shizuki and tells him everything. Shizuki, taken aback, asks if she really made a new friend. Kusunoki confirms, explaining that after the match, they approached her and requested to be friends. Shizuki is initially shocked but then considers Kusunoki's impressive performance in the dodgeball tournament, realizing that perhaps her actions left a strong impression on the girls. Understanding the situation, he congratulates her, saying it's great news. However, Kusunoki informs him that their friendship is still on hold. Curious, Shizuki asks why. She explains that if she doesn't put it on hold, she might have to end her friendship with him. Shizuki suddenly recalls his own words, how he once mentioned that their bond was temporary and would end if she made new friends. He realizes he had completely forgotten about that. Kusunoki admits that it might be selfish on her part, but gently adds that she wants to spend more time with him. Confused, Shizuki asks why she's saying this. She clarifies that it's because she likes him. Shizuki is stunned by her confession. She reassures him that she's being honest and explains that he is the first friend she has ever made. Shizuki sits back in his chair, puzzled over whether Kusunoki means it as just friendship or something more. He wonders why she always makes such ambiguous statements. Kusunoki quickly adds that if her feelings are troubling him, she will step back. Shizuki reassures her that it doesn't bother him at all. The moment Kusunoki hears his response, she suddenly shouts into the phone in excitement. Shizuki is taken aback and tells her to stop shouting. Smiling, she apologizes for her outburst and expresses her happiness at the prospect of continuing their friendship. Meanwhile, Shizuki reflects that he might have been expecting too much. Considering it's Kusunoki, he should have known better. Even if she makes a new female friend, she still manages to say things like this. Still, he feels it's a bit unfair to him. Feeling relieved and happy, Kusunoki excitedly mentions that now she can share this news with Rarisa. Shizuki, curious, asks about the friend she made. Kusunoki happily tells him that her new friend is Rarisa Hebikawa from Class B and adds that she'll introduce them when the time comes. The moment Shizuki hears that name, he is shocked and shouts into the phone. Kusunoki, taken aback by his reaction, asks him not to shout like that. The next day at school, Shizuki sits in complete silence at a table. Suji glances over and asks what's wrong, noting that it looks like Shizuki's soul is leaving his body. Harino comments that he doesn't know what happened, but Shizuki has been like this since morning. Meanwhile, Shizuki is deep in thought. Kusunoki didn't initiate the friendship, Hebikawa did. He wonders why she did it and worries that their personalities might not mesh well. If things go wrong, Kusunoki might end up being bullied. As he ponders this, Harino suddenly looks out the window, eyes widening in shock. He loudly calls for Suji to look outside, saying it's insane. He points out that Kusunoki and Hebikawa are standing together, chatting. Suji looks over and notes that they seem pretty close, adding that it's the first time he's seen Kusunoki hanging out with other girls. Harino grins, saying that the most beautiful and academically gifted students are bound to become friends. Hearing this, Shizuki immediately shouts back, insisting that they are not the same. Harino is taken aback by his reaction. After Shizuki storms off, Harino turns to Suji and asks what's going on. Suji admits he has no idea. Later, Shizuki and Kusunoki are in a school hallway, cleaning the floor. Kusunoki casually informs Shizuki that she plans to hang out with Hebikawa. Shizuki is stunned and asks if she's really going out with her. Kusunoki replies that they're planning to meet this Sunday. Shizuki wonders if they've already grown that close or if he's misjudging the situation. Then, a thought occurs to him. He asks if Kusunoki has mentioned their middle school to Hebikawa yet. Kusunoki responds that she hasn't. Shizuki feels a sense of relief, realizing that if it becomes known that he and Kusunoki went to the same middle school, not only could Kusunoki face trouble, but his own position might also be at risk. As they talk, Shizuki notices some girls chatting upstairs. He calls Kusunoki over to a corner under the stairs. Kusunoki agrees and follows him to a secluded spot where they can talk privately. Shizuki gently advises her not to mention their middle school to Hebikawa, revealing that Hebikawa also attended the same middle school. Kusunoki looks surprised by this. Shizuki explains that Hebikawa's name back then was Takagaki. When he asks if she remembers Hebikawa from middle school, Kusunoki shakes her head, saying she didn't interact much with anyone back then. Shizuki warns that if Hebikawa finds out about their shared middle school, it could cause significant trouble. He advises Kusunoki to avoid discussing anything related to it and, if Hebikawa brings it up, to change the subject. Kusunoki fully understands and happily agrees to follow his advice. As Shizuki starts to move away, Kusunoki calls him back and politely asks if she can still contact him later that evening, even though it's not a practice day. She mentions that she has something to ask him. Shizuki wonders why she can't ask now, but Kusunoki says she can't say it at the moment. Instead, she wants to show him something. Shizuki is stunned by her words. Kusunoki explains that she will send him a picture when she gets home, adding that since it's a bit embarrassing, he should make sure to look at it when he's alone. Shizuki immediately assumes it's something intimate or compromising, making him extremely flustered. As he finishes cleaning, grabs his bag, and even while riding the train home, he keeps wondering what she wants to show him. Since she specifically told him not to open it in front of others, the request feels suspicious and mysterious, sparking his curiosity. That night at home, Shizuki tries to brush it off, telling himself it's not a big deal. But no matter how much he tries to ignore it, he can't help feeling anxious about what the picture might be. Just waiting for it keeps him on edge. He tries to distract himself by getting ready for a bath, but before he can leave, his phone buzzes. He rushes to check it. It's a message from Kusunoki. As he hesitates over the mysterious photo, he finally opens the message. What he sees stuns him. It's a picture of Kusunoki standing in front of a mirror. Confused, he reads her message, where she explains that it's the outfit she picked for her outing with Rarisa. She asks if she looks strange. Shizuki stares at the image, processing the situation. Of course, it's strange. He wonders what the hell she was thinking. Kusunoki's outfit had a strange, almost prisoner-like look with all those stripes. Shizuki wonders what the point of the beret on her head is, questioning if she's playing some kind of joke on him. Just then, another message from Kusunoki arrives. She explains that she added the beret as a key piece to complete the look, convinced that it makes for a great style. That's when Shizuki realizes she isn't joking. Trying to be polite, he asks if she has any other outfits so he can compare and make a clearer decision. Kusunoki responds that she has others and asks him to wait while she sends more photos. Moments later, after looking through them, Shizuki comes to a harsh realization. Kusunoki has absolutely no sense of fashion. It's an awkward situation. If she dresses like this when meeting Hebikawa, she'll end up being mocked. He checks the date and realizes Sunday is just 2 days away. There isn't much time. He wonders what he should do. Then his expression turns serious as he makes a decision. Shortly after, Kusunoki gets a call. Excited, she answers and immediately asks which style he liked best. Before she can finish, Shizuki cuts in and asks if she's free after school tomorrow. She questions the sudden invitation, and Shizuki tells her they are going shopping together. The unexpected proposal leaves Kusunoki stunned. The next day, after class, Harino invites Suji to grab something to eat before heading home. He also tries to invite Shizuki, but he realizes that Shizuki has already left. Meanwhile, Kusunoki walks through a shopping district filled with trendy clothing stores, her excitement evident. Shizuki walks beside her, wondering why he even agreed to this. But at this point, it's too late to back out. From an outsider's perspective, they might look like a couple. A thought that briefly crosses his mind before Kusunoki's voice snaps him back to reality. Kusunoki comments that they really look like good friends, adding that friends usually go out together after school and even shop for clothes. She then asks if he wants to grab something to eat afterward. Shizuki, feeling embarrassed, tells her to stop. Calling himself an idiot, he reminds himself that Kusunoki is just a friend. Nothing more, nothing less. At the store, Kusunoki excitedly shows him several pieces with animal prints, seemingly trying to create a matching outfit. He immediately rejects the idea. Even after seeing the picture before, he still can't believe her taste in fashion. But as he watches her insist on following a single pattern, he starts to understand her peculiar sense of style. After thinking it over, he decides to share some fashion advice. He explains that fashion has an ideal that can be hard to achieve. When Kusunoki asks how he chooses his outfits, he says the solution is simply to just look at the mannequins. He suggests that if she buys exactly what a mannequin is wearing, even if it's a bit pricey, she can dress stylishly without needing prior fashion knowledge. Hearing this, Kusunoki gets excited and calls him a genius. However, some of the other girls in the store give him strange looks after his suggestion. He then asks if she brought enough money, to which she confidently replies saying she got all the cash she could find. Pointing at a mannequin, he asks what she thinks of its outfit, saying it's fresh and perfect for the current season. Kusunoki comments that it looks a bit mature for her taste. Just then, a store employee approaches and asks if they need help with anything. At that moment, Shizuki suddenly feels dizzy, realizing the symptoms of his condition are kicking in. He silently regrets lowering his guard, even though encountering beautiful women in a clothing store is completely normal. After composing himself, he tells Kusunoki that he'll wait for her outside. Realizing that both the store employee and Kusunoki have disappeared, Shizuki looks around and suddenly hears a girl's excited voice. Turning toward the sound, he sees the employee happily celebrating how well the dress suits Kusunoki. Kusunoki notices Shizuki watching her and walks over to ask what he thinks. Without thinking, he blurts out that she looks cute. A brief silence follows as both process his words. Realizing what he just said, he quickly tries to clarify that he was talking about the dress. After a short moment of surprise, Kusunoki thanks him for the compliment and decides to buy the dress, asking for a moment to change. He agrees, left dwelling on how embarrassing and awkward the moment was, wishing he could disappear on the spot. Meanwhile, in the dressing room, Kusunoki clutches her chest, her heartbeat racing as her face turns red. After leaving the store, she thanks Shizuki for accompanying her and promises to return the favor. He assures her that she's exaggerating. As she waves goodbye and starts walking away, he suddenly calls out to her, telling her to do her best tomorrow. Surprised, she smiles brightly and responds with a confident yes. Watching her go, he finds himself wondering why his heart is beating so fast. The next day, Kusunoki takes a deep breath, mentally preparing herself. Nervous, she goes over everything in her head. Just then, Hebikawa arrives, apologizing for being late. To Kusunoki's surprise, she isn't alone. 2 other girls are with her. Stammering slightly, Kusunoki asks who they are. Hebikawa explains that they are classmates who decided to join after hearing about the outing. She adds that they are her best friends and hopes that everyone can get along. Unsure how to respond, Kusunoki freezes from nervousness. Sensing her hesitation, one of the girls asks if she minds. Kusunoki, feeling even more anxious, tries to steady herself. Kusunoki knows she can't let the increasing number of people scare her, and she doesn't want Hebikawa to worry about her. Gathering her courage, she responds nervously that she doesn't mind. Bowing her head, she introduces herself. Hebikawa's friends introduce themselves as Tada and Reika. Tada immediately approaches Kusunoki, telling her there's no need to be so formal. She playfully pushes Kusunoki forward, urging her to come along for a meal. As they walk, Hebikawa glances at Kusunoki, noting that she's wearing a stylish dress. It's no surprise, considering she's the most beautiful girl in Class A. However, Hebikawa wonders why Kusunoki is so isolated from the rest of the class. Earlier, Tada had mentioned a beautiful girl in Class A who never socialized with anyone. She had been dying of curiosity to meet her, which is why she insisted that Hebikawa bring her along. Hebikawa agreed and also brought Reika with them. Watching Kusunoki now, Hebikawa thinks that she's full of mystery, but today, she's determined to uncover some of those secrets. At the fast food restaurant, the girls stare in surprise at the huge amount of food in front of Kusunoki. Tada comments that it's incredible she can eat so much and that it's the first time she's seen someone order such a massive meal. Kusunoki realizes she has made a huge mistake. She accepted everything that was offered to her and now has an overwhelming amount of food in front of her. Hebikawa steps in to defend her, telling Tada to stop teasing since eating a lot is a good thing. After that, Hebikawa asks Kusunoki if her house is far from school. Kusunoki replies that it is and that she has to take a train to get there. Hebikawa says it's the same for her. Then, she asks Kusunoki which secondary school she attended and if it was close to her home. Kusunoki answers that she went to a school near her house. But then, she remembers what Shizuki told her about keeping that information a secret. Trying to cover for herself, she adds that she only thinks it was close by and claims that the school had a strange name, so she can't remember it properly. She says this while visibly nervous and stammering. Reika gives her a confused look, and Tada comments that she's speaking a little weirdly. Meanwhile, Hebikawa simply nods with a smile, saying that some school names can be hard to remember. Kusunoki celebrates silently, relieved that she tricked them so perfectly. But Hebikawa watches her closely out of the corner of her eye. Later, at the movie theater, Tada can't hide her excitement, prompting Reika to tell her to calm down since the movie hasn't started yet. Tada insists that she's been waiting a long time to watch it. Ignoring her, Reika remarks that Kusunoki really does eat a lot, noticing that she's carrying a giant bucket of popcorn. At that moment, Kusunoki realizes she made a mistake. Ordering popcorn at the movies is normal, but she got way too much. Tada asks if she can even finish it all. Kusunoki says yes and promises to do her best as she can. That last comment leaves Tada and Reika confused. Hebikawa then asks Kusunoki what kind of movies she likes. Excited, Kusunoki is about to answer but suddenly remembers what Shizuki told her. Anime is looked down upon, so she shouldn't mention it. Lowering her voice, she says she likes romance movies, among others. This excites Tada, who says she also loves romance films and asks if Kusunoki has seen Love Mira. Kusunoki nods, though she's obviously lying. Tada happily comments that Love Mira was really fun and asks if she also thought Akina's acting was. Now nervous, Kusunoki struggles to keep up with the lie. When she hears Akina's name, she assumes it belongs to an actress and casually says Akina seems adorable. Tada is stunned, and Reika asks if she really finds Akina, the male actor who played the father in the movie, cute. That's when Kusunoki realizes her mistake. Tada innocently remarks that she has an interesting way of seeing things, while Hebikawa watches in silence, growing slightly suspicious. The movie ends, and the girls step out of the theater, unsure of what to do next. Suddenly, Kusunoki apologizes, saying she needs to use the bathroom before walking off. As soon as she's gone, Tada remarks that Kusunoki is a bit strange and not what she expected. Hibikawa agrees, noting that Kusunoki's stories just don't add up. Reika agrees, adding that it even felt strange they were talking about Akina. Hibikawa thinks it's a shame. Kusunoki is a very pretty girl, but her communication skills are awkward and dull. Being pretty alone would make her popular with boys since she would only need to passively accept their attention. But with girls, it's different. Being pretty often leads to gossip and isolation. In the world of girls, Kusunoki won't get by just on looks.
A moment later, Kusunoki arrives, apologizing for making them wait. Tada tells her she took too long and that she got tired of waiting. Feeling bad, Kusunoki sincerely apologizes for wasting her time, but Tada laughs, saying it was just a joke and not taking it so seriously. The girls start walking and chatting, leaving Kusunoki behind, excluded from the conversation. At a street corner, Reika announces that they'll be parting ways. Ririsa apologizes to Kusunoki, admitting that they got caught up in their own excitement. With that, she says goodbye and walks off with her friends, leaving Kusunoki standing there with her head down. Suddenly, Kusunoki stops Ririsa and asks for a moment to talk. Ririsa's friends comment that it looks like they still have things to discuss and decide to leave first. As Ririsa watches them go, she wonders what's going on and if Kusunoki is about to complain and show her true nature. Her thoughts are cut short when Kusunoki suddenly apologizes, catching her off guard. Kusunoki says she's sorry because, despite Ririsa bringing her friends along, she couldn't communicate properly and ruined the day. But even so, she wanted to say that she was truly happy to be invited. Ririsa is left speechless, unable to believe what she just heard. Kusunoki had just said she had fun, despite Ririsa blatantly excluding her to spend time with her friends. Ririsa wonders if Kusunoki is being sarcastic, but Kusunoki continues, saying she wants to keep getting along with her since she is the first girl she has ever befriended. Ririsa is left speechless, realizing that Kusunoki is completely serious. Kusunoki says that's all she wanted to say and apologizes for taking up her time before walking away. As Kusunoki leaves, Ririsa thinks about how strange it is that she apologized, even though she was the one who invited her and then excluded her. It doesn't make sense. Kusunoki didn't even get upset, and she still wants to be friends. Kusunoki has a cute face, but there's something different about her. She seems genuinely innocent and pure. Ririsa scowls at the thought, unwilling to believe that someone like that could truly exist. Later that night, Shizuki sends Kusunoki a message asking how the outing went. She enthusiastically replies that everything went perfectly, and she had a great time. Reading this, he feels relieved and genuinely happy, realizing he spent the whole day worrying about it without being able to relax. He congratulates her on the successful outing and decides to get all the details from her the next day. The next day, Kusunoki tells him what happened. She mentions that Ririsa brought 2 of her friends, making it a group of 4. Shizuki realizes that he now has to compete not only with Ririsa but also with other contenders for Kusunoki's friendship. However, he continues questioning her, asking where they went. Kusunoki replies that they went to the movies. As they talk, Kusunoki replays the events in her mind, remembering how she felt excluded by the other girls. Tears well up in her eyes. Alarmed, Shizuki asks what's wrong, but Kusunoki hides her face and insists it's nothing. The scene draws the attention of the other students, who begin whispering among themselves. To avoid further attention, Shizuki decides to take Kusunoki outside for a private conversation. She explains that she struggled to talk with Ririsa's friends and couldn't fit in. Shizuki asks what she means by that, and Kusunoki details her experience. She couldn't follow the conversations, took jokes too seriously, and ended up feeling left out. She then apologizes to Shizuki, saying that despite his help, she wasn't able to do anything. Shizuki stands up and tells her there's no need to apologize. Of course, she wasn't going to succeed right away. It's like a low-level character trying to fight the final boss. Winning on the first try is impossible. He encourages her not to give up, saying there's nothing to be embarrassed about. They can keep practicing until she improves and can hold a normal conversation. Besides, she already did well. His words lift Kusunoki's spirits. She smiles and asks when their next training session will be. Seeing her recover, Shizuki feels relieved. They return to class, and Kusunoki asks if her eyes are red. Shizuki confirms, saying she cried a lot. Just then, they are surprised to see Rarisa standing at the classroom entrance. Kusunoki is taken aback. Rarisa approaches and says she wants to apologize face to face. After giving Kusunoki a strange look, she takes her hands and sincerely apologizes for what happened yesterday. Bringing her friends along was selfish, and she realizes it was insensitive. Even if it was just a casual outing, she should have considered Kusunoki's feelings. She also says that Kusunoki's words at the end of the night made her really happy. Then, she asks if Kusunoki can forgive her. Shizuki watches, shocked by the situation. Kusunoki innocently replies that she should forgive her since it was all her fault. Smiling, Rarisa suddenly hugs Kusunoki, saying she loves her. Then, she adds that next time if they are going out, she should introduce her friend, referring to Shizuki. Rarisa suggests the three of them go out together and asks if that would be a problem for Kusunoki. Kusunoki replies that it wouldn't, assuring her that Shizuki is a kind person and that she would be happy to introduce them. She then asks Shizuki if he is okay with the idea but is surprised to see him lowering his head. Shizuki feels overwhelmed. Going out with both of them is impossible for him since Rarisa is the source of his trauma. With that in mind, he refuses, saying the introduction will have to wait. Kusunoki, unaware of the situation, asks if something about it bothers him, leaving Shizuki struggling to explain. Rarisa then steps closer, saying it's fine if he doesn't want to, but she simply wanted to learn more about Shizuki and thought they could all be friends. With a soft expression and slightly blushing, she asks if it was wrong to wish for that. Instead of feeling drawn to her, Shizuki feels fear and disgust, instinctively stepping back. Seeing this, Kusunoki repeats her question, leaving him with no way to refuse. Later, he explains why he couldn't go home with his friends. Harino feels jealous, realizing that Kusunoki alone wasn't enough, now Rarisa was involved too. Frustrated, he jokes that Shizuki must be the protagonist of a romantic comedy, and says he wants to switch places with him. Hearing this, Shizuki grabs him by the shoulders with a disturbed expression, begging him to take his place instead. Panic fills him. This wasn't how things were supposed to go. His high school life was meant to be peaceful, but he can't understand why this is happening to him. Seeing his pale face, Harino and Tsuji assume he is dealing with his own problems. Then, with a serious voice, Shizuki announces that he is ready to switch places with Harino. But at that exact moment, Kusunoki appears with Rarisa, asking if he is ready to leave with them. A wave of discomfort crashes over Shizuki. Seconds later, everyone watches the scene unfold, and the other boys can't help but feel jealous. A teacher watches the scene, commenting that this is typical of youth. He cannot deny that Shizuki has flowers in both hands, but the only one not happy about the situation is Shizuki, who cannot shake off his discomfort and keeps wondering why he is in the middle of both of them. Shizuki asks Kusunoki about it, and she tells him it is because he is the main character of this meeting. Meanwhile, Shizuki feels an increasing unease in his stomach, repeating to himself that he should not think about Rarisa. Unable to hold on any longer, he looks at Kusunoki and tells her to handle everything, asking her to start the introductions. Excited, Kusunoki introduces Shizuki, who politely says it is a pleasure. Rarisa gives him a curious look before introducing herself in response. Kusunoki, unsure how to continue the conversation, hesitates, so Rarisa takes the lead again. She turns to Shizuki and asks how he became friends with Kusunoki. Shizuki explains that they became friends simply because they sit next to each other, which is natural. Not entirely convinced, Rarisa asks if that is the only reason, and he confirms. She then asks Kusunoki if she gets along well with Shizuki. Smiling, Kusunoki says yes because talking to him is fun. Rarisa, observing Kusunoki's expression, smiles before placing her hand over Shizuki's. Leaning closer, she tells him she also wants to get along with him. Instead of being alarmed, Kusunoki becomes even more excited, announcing that the three of them can be friends. She adds that Shizuki is different from her and is good at conversations. Shizuki, however, senses nothing but danger in the situation. Rarisa glances at him, commenting that he has been quiet for a while and questioning if he is actually good at conversations. Then, raising her hand, she takes hold of his face, making him look directly at her. Feeling the tension, Shizuki starts getting dizzier and trembling. Rarisa notices his distress, but before anyone can react, he cannot hold it in any longer and vomits, the contents landing directly on Rarisa. Both Kusunoki and Rarisa are stunned. Later, in the infirmary, the nurse asks Shizuki if he is feeling better and if the nausea has stopped. He answers that he feels better, though still slightly unwell. The nurse points out that he caused a huge mess and suggests he apologize later to the person he vomited on. She also informs him that she has to leave for the faculty office. But before going, she mentions that a girl from his class took care of cleaning up his mess, so he should apologize to her as well. This makes Shizuki feel awful, not just for the chaos he caused but also for dragging Kusunoki into it. He never imagined he would end up vomiting just because Rarisa touched him. Curling up under the sheets, he wonders if he will stay like this forever and whether he will ever recover. Just then, he hears footsteps entering the infirmary. He wonders who it is and opens his eyes, only to see Rarisa standing there. Immediately, the nausea returns. Oblivious to his reaction, she asks how he is feeling, and he replies that he is doing better. He then asks about her clothes, and she explains that her shirt got dirty, so she changed into this jacket. Shizuki quickly apologizes and offers to pay for the laundry. Rarisa watches him in silence for a moment before sitting on the bed. She then asks if he has a weak immune system, noting that he always looks pale and seems unwell whenever she sees him. Desperate to escape the conversation, Shizuki insists that he does have poor health, just as she suspects. However, Rarisa stares at him for a moment before calmly stating that he is lying. She points out that when he is with Kusunoki and the others in class, he always seems perfectly fine. Then she asks if his problem has something to do with her. Losing his composure, Shizuki tries to get up from the bed, announcing that he is going home. But before he can move, Rarisa suddenly throws herself onto him, blocking his escape. With a serious expression, she tells him that he cannot run away. He cannot escape from her. Then, with a smile, she asks again if he is hiding something and if he will confess. Shizuki averts his gaze, insisting that he is not hiding anything, but Rarisa refuses to believe him, accusing him of lying. He denies it again, but she presses further, asking why he feels sick every time he sees her. Trapped by her relentless questioning, he struggles to find an escape. The pressure makes him feel unwell again, and as he tries to look away, Rarisa studies him closely before pouting. Suddenly, she grabs his head and forces him to face her, warning that he cannot avoid her attention. Just then, the infirmary's sliding door opens, and Kusunoki steps inside. She freezes at the sight of Rarisa leaning over Shizuki. Stammering, she asks what they are doing. Rarisa quickly stands up from the bed, casually explaining that she simply tripped and fell, insisting it was an accident. Then, turning to Kusunoki, she says she will be leaving, adding that in hindsight, it would be better to get to know each other some other time. After saying goodbye to Kusunoki, she walks out of the room, giving Shizuki a parting smile and assuring him they will meet again. Once Rarisa is gone, Shizuki collapses onto the bed, relieved. Noticing Kusunoki holding his bag, he thanks her for the kindness and apologizes for making her clean up after his mess. She reassures him that there is no need to apologize and instead urges him to take better care of his health, admitting that she had not realized how unwell he was. Apologizing again for making him stay with her earlier, she seems on the verge of asking about the incident. Shizuki waits for her question, but after pressing her lips together in hesitation, she dismisses it as unimportant. Instead, she asks if he plans to head home. Shizuki confirms and suggests they leave together, which instantly lifts her mood. She asks him to wait while she grabs her own bag. As she steps out, Shizuki leans back, reflecting on the dangerous encounter that just happened. For a moment, he thought Rarisa had figured everything out, but she had not. Still, he cannot ignore her increasing attempts to get closer to Kusunoki or the strange interest she seems to have in him. With these thoughts swirling in his mind, he continues pondering what Rarisa might be thinking as the next day approaches. Shizuki keeps reflecting on these thoughts until the teacher pulls him out of it, pointing out that he is too distracted. The teacher then warns the class to pay attention since exams are approaching, and those who do not focus will fall behind. Hearing this, Shizuki decides to stop worrying about everything else and focus on his top priority, the midterm exams. Later, the teacher hands out the results of the mock exams. Seeing his score, Shizuki feels relieved. Even though it was just a practice test, he scored a 90, a sign that he is on the right track. However, not everyone shares his satisfaction. Looking at his classmate, he notices her troubled expression. He approaches Kusunoki, who greets him timidly and asks if they can talk later. When they get the chance, Kusunoki shows him her exam with a discouraged look. She only scored 30 points. She explains that complicated math problems make her nervous and confused. If things continue this way, she is at risk of failing the year. That is why she asks if he can help her with math. Shizuki wants to refuse but feels indebted to Kusunoki for helping him deal with the disaster he caused earlier. With this lingering sense of obligation, he agrees to her request. With her usual cheerful smile, Kusunoki suggests that since she was the one asking for help, they should study at her house. Before leaving for her next class, she expresses her excitement about their upcoming study session. Everything happens so quickly that Shizuki does not even have time to reconsider. Later, he finds himself standing at Kusunoki's doorstep. He had tried to refuse after she proposed the idea at school, but every time he brought it up, Kusunoki would put on a sad expression, making him feel guilty and unable to say no. Shizuki reminds himself that since they are friends, he does not need to be so on guard. With this thought in mind, he presses the doorbell. A loud noise comes from inside the house, and a moment later, Kusunoki opens the door with a smile, welcoming him. She apologizes for making him come all the way to her house on his own, explaining that it took her a while to organize everything. As she speaks, Shizuki cannot help but notice her outfit, which looks like she put an extra effort to impress. Unable to hold back, he asks about her clothes. Nervously, she explains that she got excited about the study session and ended up picking an outfit straight off a mannequin, just as he once taught her. She then apologizes, realizing too late that the pants are torn. Shizuki, trying to reassure her, says it is normal and just part of fashion. However, deep down, he cannot ignore how revealing the outfit is. He tries to stay calm and asks if he can come in. Kusunoki apologizes, saying that there is no need for formalities since they have the house to themselves. This surprises Shizuki, making an already awkward situation even more uncomfortable. Nervously, he asks about her parents, and Kusunoki tells him they are at work, so they have the house to themselves. Stepping inside, Shizuki is caught off guard by the sight of balloons and a large welcome sign with his name. Confused, he asks about the decorations. Beaming with pride, Kusunoki happily explains that this is the first time she has invited a friend over, so she wanted to do something special. Shizuki wonders if she really went through all this effort for him, and whether she thinks a study session is worth celebrating. But he cannot deny her excitement. Kusunoki asks if they can play something after studying. Aware of her high expectations, Shizuki agrees as long as they have time after finishing their work. Encouraged, Kusunoki promises to focus on studying. She tells him to get comfortable while she prepares some tea. Watching her move around the kitchen, Shizuki reflects on how she clearly cares about him. Her actions show that she sees him as a friend, something he tells himself is normal. A moment later, they start their study session. Surprisingly, Kusunoki picks up the material quickly, making it easy for Shizuki to teach her the equations. He compliments her, and she happily declares that she will aim for the highest score. Shizuki says that as they had finished early, so as promised, he told Kusunoki they could take some time to play. Kusunoki brightened at the suggestion but then hesitated, her expression turning serious. Apologizing in advance in case she was mistaken, she admitted she was curious about something. Shizuki, intrigued, asked what it was. She asked if he disliked being near Rarisa, adding that she had been thinking about it ever since the day he vomited. Shizuki is caught off guard, unable to answer so easily. Explaining that he's traumatized because Rarisa spoke badly about him behind his back, or that she was his first love in middle school, feels impossible. There's too much to unpack and putting it into words is overwhelming. He's afraid that being honest might cost him his friends or make him a target for ridicule. Even though he knows Kusunoki is different, more understanding than most, he still hesitates. He tells her it's complicated and that he can't explain. It's not that he thinks she'll laugh at him or push him away, but the thought of opening up still terrifies him. Kusunoki apologizes, admitting she's not good at handling sensitive topics and often fails to read the atmosphere. She promises not to insist on Shizuki and Rarisa getting along. Shizuki asks if she's really okay with that, and if she doesn't want an explanation. She replies that it's not necessary, just hearing him say that is enough for her. Moved by her sincerity and understanding, Shizuki feels encouraged. He tells her that maybe he won't explain today, but someday, he'll tell her everything. With that, she drops the subject and announces that she's going to get a game for them to play together. As she tries to stand, she trips and falls onto Shizuki. Worried, he asks if she's okay, but when he looks at her, he notices she's gripping his shirt tightly and staring directly into his eyes. She remains on top of him, her face slightly flushed. Then, she calls his name, not for anything dramatic, but simply to tell him that her legs have fallen asleep and she can't stand up. She explains that she's been sitting awkwardly for a while. Shizuki, still concerned, tells her she needs to move a little, but when she tries, she finds she can't. That's when she informs him that she's been holding it in for a while, and following her instructions, he takes her to the bathroom, thinking the day feels somewhat strange. Later, as they stand by the door, Kusunoki thanks him for everything he's done that day and for his help. She also apologizes for causing him so much trouble. Shizuki tells her not to worry about it, though inwardly, he thinks it's been an extremely exhausting day for him. After this thought, he advises Kusunoki not to stress so much and to focus on her studies instead. She eagerly accepts the suggestion. Then, she mentions that they'll play again another time, though for Shizuki, the idea is far from appealing, considering how he kept losing in their previous game. Kusunoki then asks if he really doesn't want her to walk him home. He declines, saying it's getting late and he'd rather go alone. At that moment, Kusunoki tells him he can visit her anytime he wants, and that she'll look forward to his next visit. This request makes Shizuki blush. The next day at school, Shizuki can't stop thinking about it. What's on his mind is that he must never, under any circumstances, visit her house again. He feels that when he's alone with Kusunoki, something inside him could break at any moment. He knows that moment during the fall was dangerous. Lost in his thoughts, Shizuki is brought back to reality when the teacher approaches, asking where Kusunoki is. Looking over at her seat, he realizes she's not there. Since the teacher needs to give her something, Shizuki leaves to go find her. Meanwhile, Kusunoki is outside in the schoolyard, standing with Rarisa. Everyone around watches as the two beauties speak. Rarisa asks Kusunoki what's going on, why she called her, and what she wants to say. Kusunoki explains that it's about Shizuki and that they can treat the topic of their introduction as if nothing ever happened, getting to know each other properly. Intrigued, Rarisa asks what she means by that, and why she has to do it. However, Kusunoki tells her she can't give her a reason. Although it's unfortunate, Rarisa knows it's not right to force people or interfere in personal matters. She asks Kusunoki if they can still be friends, and Kusunoki agrees. After that, Rarisa asks if Kusunoki can accompany her to buy something, and Kusunoki accepts. The two walk together to get a drink. As they walk, Rarisa smiles, Thinking that it doesn't matter and Kusunoki doesn't really have to introduce Shizuki to her, she knows she can just get closer to him herself. Meanwhile, Shizuki searches everywhere for Kusunoki, wondering where she is and what she's doing. While distracted, a ball suddenly hits him. A tanned, short boy apologizes and asks if he's okay. Shizuki gets up and says it's fine before asking if the boy is in elementary school. Though he wonders why an elementary schooler is in this high school, the boy, visibly irritated, snaps that he's obviously a high school student and asks if Shizuki is trying to start a fight. Shizuki apologizes, though he can't help but think that no matter how he looks at him, the boy really does seem more like an elementary schooler. He also notes that the boy's way of speaking doesn't help. Annoyed, the boy pushes Shizuki and calls him unpleasant before walking away. Later, Kusunoki apologizes to Shizuki for making him look for her. He assures her that it's fine and that he should have guessed she would be in the schoolyard. However, deep down, he can't stop thinking about how annoying it is to run into that arrogant and foul-mouthed kid during his search. As they walk back to class, Kusunoki mentions that she speaks with Rarisa and asks her to cancel the introduction. Shizuki is surprised and asks if Rarisa takes it badly, but Kusunoki reassures him that she actually takes it well. This surprises Shizuki even more. He can't understand how someone as persistent as Rarisa can be brushed off so easily. Shizuki can't stop thinking about how strange everything feels. He glances at Kusunoki, who, noticing his gaze, gives him a bright smile. Embarrassed, he quickly looks away, deciding to stop overthinking and focus on staying cautious in case Rarisa tries to approach him again. Either way, his high school life is just beginning. Moments later, the teacher announces the start of the exam. After the tests, Shizuki's expression shows his success. He scored a 95, an almost perfect score. Feeling a bit smug, he wonders if he might have taken it too seriously. Curious, he glances at Kusunoki, wondering if she at least manages to avoid failing. Looking at her test, he's stunned to see a perfect 100. Later, when he asks her about it, she proudly and slightly flustered confirms her flawless score. Shizuki congratulates her, though inwardly, he wonders if she's awakened some hidden power or if she's actually the protagonist of some manga. Still excited, Kusunoki asks Shizuki if she can buy him something to celebrate. She also insists on treating him to a drink, saying it's thanks to his help. Shizuki declines, saying it was her own effort and that he had nothing to do with it. Kusunoki insists, clarifying that she wants to go to a fancy cafe nearby known for its exceptional drinks. Shizuki, who usually avoids sweet drinks, considers refusing, but faced with Kusunoki's persistence, he gives in and agrees to go. Later at the shop, the employee informs them that their order will be ready soon. Anticipating a short wait, Shizuki decides to find a seat. That's when he spots the same young man from before sitting at one of the tables. Both of them are caught off guard. As he approaches, Shizuki considers avoiding the situation, but something catches his attention. The young person in front of him is wearing a skirt. Noticing Shizuki's gaze, the young person becomes uneasy and calls him a perv. Shizuki, confused, asks why he would assume that, arguing that it's normal to be surprised to see a guy wearing a skirt in public. At that moment, the young person jumps from her seat, declares that she's a girl, and grabs Shizuki by the collar, demanding to know if he's looking for a fight. Meanwhile, Kusunoki approaches with drinks and asks Shizuki if he's found a place to sit. Shizuki immediately responds that they should find another spot since this one is dangerous. Kusunoki glances at the small girl and suddenly calls her Mo-chan. Shizuki, shocked, asks if she knows her. Kusunoki denies it and quickly starts pulling Shizuki away, insisting that they need to leave. As they begin to walk off, the girl suddenly calls out to Kusunoki, addressing her as my lady. Excited, the girl grabs Kusunoki, overjoyed to have found her and recognizing her despite her different appearance. She exclaims how wonderful it is to meet her here and, noticing her uniform, is thrilled to realize they attend the same high school. Shizuki remains confused by the situation as the girl enthusiastically asks Kusunoki what grade she is in. Kusunoki, growing more agitated, suddenly flees, insisting that she has the wrong person. Moments later, Shizuki is stunned to realize that the girl is actually Kusunoki's classmate. Kusunoki confirms it, saying she recognized her immediately since she looks exactly the same as before. Shizuki finds this satisfying and asks for her name, to which Kusunoki responds, Otobi Mo. Kusunoki had been classmates and friends with this girl in elementary school, but they lost contact when Mo moved abroad. After learning this, he asks Kusunoki why the girl called her my lady and if she came from an important family. Embarrassed, Kusunoki denies it, explaining that Mo gave her that nickname because she liked a character from her favorite movie, and Kusunoki reminded her of that character. Since it was getting late, they decide to head home. As they walk, Shizuki asks Kusunoki why she ran away from Mo when they were friends. Kusunoki explains that she ran away because she has become a completely different person, which confuses Shizuki. She continues, explaining that when she spent time with Mo in the past, she was more radiant, energetic, and the center of attention in class. This surprises Shizuki, as the Kusunoki he met in high school was nothing like that. Kusunoki continues, revealing that after losing contact with Mo, she became a lonely person with communication issues. She is certain that if Mo saw her in her current state, she would be disappointed. For now, until she can fix her issues, she has decided not to talk to Mo. Unfortunately, Mo keeps searching for her, but Kusunoki remains determined and always manages to escape. This leads to an obvious outcome for Shizuki. Mo eventually turns to him, asking how she can get close to Kusunoki and reconcile. Shizuki, of course, cannot do anything to help, as that is not up to him, which leaves Mo disappointed. Shizuki asks what they were like when they were friends. After thinking for a moment, Mo describes it as a princess and her entourage, to the point that people around them would tease her. She clarifies that she actually admired her. The princess was beautiful, intelligent, elegant, kind, and radiant. Mo firmly tells Shizuki that Kusunoki was always the most popular in their class. This information makes Shizuki reflect on the fact that, despite what Mo is saying, the Kusunoki he knew in middle school was completely different from the image Mo describes. He wonders what could have led Kusunoki to become who she is today. Mo continues speaking that maybe she was the only one who thought they were friends. Shizuki tells her that things might not be as they seem and that a lot has changed since elementary school. Instead of cheering up, Mo becomes even more discouraged, admitting that he might be right, since Kusunoki has matured unlike her, who is still the same girl as before. After saying this, she sighs before apologizing for wasting Shizuki's time. She says she will forget about it and give up since she and Kusunoki are in completely different stages of life now. With that, she leaves, leaving Shizuki feeling slightly guilty. Back in middle school, Kusunoki approached Mo for the first time during recess, asking if she wanted to join her and the boys in a game of soccer outside. The boys got excited at the idea, but Mo found it unrealistic and was uncomfortable dealing with girls she saw as princess types like Kusunoki. With that in mind, she asked Kusunoki if she was good at sports. Kusunoki immediately said no, which did not surprise Mo. However, Kusunoki then said that despite that, she still wanted to play with them. Moments later, everyone was shocked to see Kusunoki stopping every shot. This did not make Mo happy. She accused the boys of letting Kusunoki win just because she was a girl, but they insisted that they weren't going easy on her. Kusunoki was just that good. Determined, Mo demanded that the next shot be hers, refusing to give Kusunoki any advantage. As the game resumed, Mo received a pass and struck the ball with full force. At the goalpost, Kusunoki dives to catch the ball, but it hits her face. Mo quickly runs over to check if she is okay. Kusunoki says it is nothing, though Mo has her doubts since Kusunoki's nose is bleeding. Kusunoki wipes her nose and says she is fine, smiling as she promises to block the next shot properly. That moment is when Mo first becomes fascinated with the princess. These are the memories Mo recalls while sitting at school. She had been happy to find Kusunoki again, but things ended badly. Her attention shifts to the noise of her classmates laughing and celebrating as they admire some cosmetics. Seeing them, Mo feels a twinge of envy, wishing she could be more like them, mature and feminine. She wonders if that is even possible. Later in the evening, Kusunoki is studying when her phone buzzes. It is a call from Shizuki. She answers, and Shizuki apologizes for bothering her. She asks if there is practice, but Shizuki says no and gets straight to the point. He asks why she is not talking to Mo. The question catches Kusunoki off guard. Shizuki reminds her that she once said she would not speak to Mo until she fixed her communication issues, but that goes against what she truly wants. If she wants friends, she should try talking to her. Kusunoki explains that she is not the same as before and does not want Mo to see her like this. She is afraid Mo might end up hating her. Shizuki, now frustrated, tells her to stop saying nonsense. He says she is ruining everything before even trying and asks if she does not want to be friends with Mo again. His direct words finally make Kusunoki admit that she does want to talk to Mo. Hearing that, Shizuki is relieved and tells her to go speak with her directly. He adds that her communication skills have improved a lot, and the compliment encourages Kusunoki even more, making her say she will do her best. Later, after classes end, Mo gets ready to head home when Kusunoki suddenly stops her, catching her off guard. Both of them feel uneasy, unsure how to start the conversation. Mo wonders what kind of divine intervention made Kusunoki want to walk home with her all of a sudden. Looking at Kusunoki, Mo misreads her anxious expression, thinking Kusunoki actually feels uncomfortable being with her. Mo apologizes and tells her she doesn't have to force herself to walk home together. She adds that even though they were friends in the past, it doesn't mean they have to act like it now. She also apologizes for being too persistent before. Kusunoki quickly denies that and says trying to talk to her actually makes her really happy. But she had been afraid of disappointing her. She confesses that after they grew apart, she became a completely different person. She had no friends, struggled with communication, and preferred manga and video games. Because of how she was now, she thought they could never be friends again. That's why she kept avoiding her. Hearing this, Mo feels relieved and asks if that means Kusunoki doesn't hate her. Kusunoki says she doesn't, explaining that she's just not good at talking to others, and that's all. Mo, still surprised, tells her she doesn't care what kind of person Kusunoki is. To her, the princess will always be the princess. What really worried her was the thought that Kusunoki had changed her mind because of her appearance. How she still looked like a child and didn't seem like a mature woman. She thought maybe that had driven Kusunoki away. Kusunoki, confused, asks what she's even talking about, since neither of them is old enough to be considered an adult yet. In that moment, Mo says it is not about that and tries to explain what she meant, but Kusunoki stops her. She says that just like her, it does not matter what Mo looks like. To her, she will always be Mo. After those words, the two of them start laughing, realizing they had said the same thing. The next day, Shizuki walks through the school hallway, worried and wondering how things went with Kusunoki. When he looks up, he sees both of them smiling happily. Surprised, he greets them cheerfully. Kusunoki responds with the same energy, and Mo, noticing his face, teases him by asking why he looks so happy this early in the morning. Shizuki tells her to knock it off. Later, Mo visits Kusunoki's classroom with a bright smile, asking if they can eat lunch together since she made it with care. Shizuki watches the scene and notices how since that day, Kusunoki and Mo have regained their trust and seem to be getting along well. As he watches them, he reflects that this whole situation helped him learn a bit more about Kusunoki's past. From what he heard, she used to be bright, active, and the kind of person who always stood out in class. It makes him wonder why she ended up becoming so withdrawn during high school, a reason he still has not heard. But deep down, he doubts it is a happy story. As he watches Kusunoki chatting cheerfully, that thought lingers in his mind. Shizuki decides not to interfere and promises to leave her alone without bringing up those topics again. Later in the gym, Suji mentions to Shizuki that Kusunoki has been spending a lot of time with a girl from another class. Everyone has been talking about it. According to what he heard, the girl is small. That's when Shizuki says it's Kusunoki's childhood friend, someone she's known since elementary school. Suji is surprised and points out that Shizuki seems to know everything about Kusunoki. Harino then adds that it's only natural for two beauties to get along. Shizuki asks what he's talking about. Harino says it should be obvious. Mo is also super cute. He turns to Suji for confirmation, but Suji hesitates, saying he can't be sure since Mo still has a boyish appearance. This irritates Harino, who argues that neither of them gets it. He says that tan skin and big eyes, even if they look childish now, have the potential to grow into something stunning. Hearing this, Suji mutters that Harino is disgusting. Shizuki, on the other hand, realizes he has never thought about Mo that way. Later in class, Mo walks up to Shizuki and asks where the princess is. Shizuki says he doesn't know and asks if she needs something. Mo says no, she just wanted to see her, and decides to go look for her. Shizuki watches her walk away. Looking closely, he notices that she actually has a very pretty face. But to him, she kind of looks more like a handsome guy. Those words accidentally slip from his mouth, and by the time he notices, it's too late. Mo immediately reacts, demanding to know if he's calling her a guy again and asking if he wants to fight. Realizing his mistake, Shizuki tries to explain himself. He says a friend told him she was cute, and he just repeated it without thinking. This flusters Mo, who asks what he means by that. Shizuki answers that it's exactly what it sounds like. Though now that he thinks about it, she looks more like a handsome boy. Mo lowers her head and sadly says that she's not as feminine as the princess anyway. Irritated, she leaves the classroom. Shizuki watches her go, wondering if he made her angry. Later, back in her class, Mo reflects on how frustrating it is to be seen as a boy. She wonders if she really looks that much like one. Her thoughts are interrupted when a classmate tells her she got a small cut and asks if she has a bandage. Mo says she's sure she has one and starts looking through her bag. Inside, she finds a small hair ornament. She hands the bandage to her classmate but keeps staring at the ornament in silence. Meanwhile, Kusunoki scolds Shizuki, saying it's no wonder Mo got upset. She explains that Mo has a feminine side. She likes sweet things and collects cute and small accessories as part of her hobbies. This surprises Shizuki, who never imagined it because of Mo's usual boyish behavior. Kusunoki continues, saying that maybe his words really hurt her. This makes Shizuki think more deeply about what he said. Later, while cleaning the stairs, Shizuki is still thinking about the situation. He wonders if Mo is still upset. It feels awkward being stuck in this tension, so he decides that when he sees her again, he'll apologize. Just then, he hears someone coming down the stairs. He looks up and is shocked to see Mo. She sees him too but keeps walking. Then something catches his eye. Mo is wearing a hair ornament. It's clear now that what he said earlier did affect her. She wasn't wearing it that morning, so it can't just be a coincidence. As he stares, Mo glares at him and asks what he's looking at. She snaps at him, demanding to know if he's going to call her a boy again. Shizuki lowers his gaze and apologizes for the way he treated her. He admits he was rude but didn't mean anything bad by it. He says he genuinely finds her face well-defined and beautiful. She asks what he means by beautiful, and he corrects himself, saying her face just looks really cute to him. As Mo tries to respond, she suddenly stumbles forward. Shizuki quickly catches her before she falls, and she ends up pressed against his chest. After pulling away, he advises her to be more careful. He then picks up the brooch she dropped. She takes it, visibly uncomfortable, and puts it in her pocket. This surprises Shizuki, who asks if she won't wear it again. She says no, claiming it doesn't suit her anyway. He tells her she's completely wrong and that it actually looks really cute on her. She gets flustered and tells him to stop bothering her before running off. Shizuki stands there thinking he upset her again, feeling like she's hard to deal with. Meanwhile, Mo hides behind one of the columns downstairs, unable to calm what she's feeling. She mutters that Shizuki is really annoying, her face clearly flushed. The teacher announces the start of the holidays. Kusunoki tells Shizuki how exciting it is. During the break, he starts working part-time at a cafe owned by his uncle. One of the part-timers had suddenly quit, and they invited him to help out over the holidays. With no plans and in need of money, the offer fits perfectly. Shortly after starting, his uncle asks if he has a girlfriend. Shizuki finds the question annoying and says he's not interested in that kind of thing. His uncle calls him boring, which only adds to his discomfort. Despite acting indifferent, Shizuki feels uneasy as Kusunoki's face pops into his mind. He wonders if maybe she really does mean something to him. Before he can finish the thought, the door opens. He welcomes the new guests and freezes when he sees Kusunoki and Mo standing there. Mo cheerfully says the rumor was true, he really is working at a cafe. Still confused, Shizuki asks what they are doing here. Mo casually replies that they just dropped by. Shizuki turns to Kusunoki, frustrated that she came despite him asking her not to. Kusunoki apologizes, saying Mo insisted and dragged her along. Mo defends Kusunoki, saying Shizuki should stop blaming her and focus on serving his customers, which annoys him even more since he cannot be rude to them. He tells them to sit wherever they want. Meanwhile, his uncle leans in and whispers, asking which of the two is the real candidate. Shizuki brushes it off, saying they are just friends. Knowing how things will go, he decides to serve them as quickly as possible so they will leave. But at the counter, the two girls take their time choosing what to eat. They ask what the special cake of the day is. Shizuki says it's the mango cake. Delighted, both choose that one. When Shizuki turns to prepare their order, seeing their smiles, Shizuki forgets his earlier thoughts about wanting them to leave quickly. He decides it's fine if they take their time. After finishing their food, Kusunoki asks about Shizuki's uncle. Shizuki tells her he went out earlier to run some errands. Kusunoki asks him to tell his uncle that the cake was delicious. Shizuki agrees, then asks what they plan to do next. Kusunoki, excited, says they're going to catch insects. They're heading to the store first to buy some nets and baskets. She and Mo exchange determined looks, silently challenging each other to see who catches more. At that moment, Shizuki realizes why Kusunoki and Mo get along so well. The girls decide it's time to go, though Mo says she needs to use the bathroom first. While Mo is away, Kusunoki apologizes to Shizuki for showing up at the cafe unannounced. Shizuki tells her it's not a problem and that she doesn't need to worry. He then asks if they have a lot of plans for the break. Kusunoki says Mo has a ton of plans lined up. But then her mood softens, and she admits she misses Shizuki, especially during vacations when they rarely get to see each other. Worried about how to take that, Shizuki stays quiet. Kusunoki then suggests they play together during summer break, catching him off guard. Before he can respond, Mo returns and says they're ready to leave. They ask for the bill. Shizuki rings them up. Mo casually says they'll be back later. Shizuki, sounding blunt, tells her there's no need. Mo replies that she can't agree to that, since part of her wants to see his annoyed face again like before. Hearing that, Shizuki starts thinking. Mo still doesn't like Shizuki. After this exchange, Kusunoki gets ready to leave. But before she goes, Shizuki calls out to her and says he will contact her later so they can talk more about what they mentioned earlier. At that moment, the cafe doors open again. Shizuki welcomes the new customers but is stunned to see Rarisa walking in with a friend. Rarisa is surprised too, but when she notices Shizuki's reaction, she smiles. She greets Kusunoki and says it's quite the coincidence to see her there. When she sees Shizuki's uniform, she's surprised to find out he works at this place. Shizuki is in disbelief. He wonders why Rarisa had to show up now of all times. Kusunoki asks Rarisa why she's here, and Rarisa explains she's hanging out with a friend from middle school and they decided to stop at the cafe for a break. She calls it a big coincidence. Then she asks Kusunoki if she's also out with friends. Kusunoki nods. Rarisa then glances briefly at Mo, making her a little uncomfortable. Mo starts pulling Kusunoki away. Rarisa says goodbye, and Kusunoki is dragged outside by Mo while still looking at Shizuki. Later, Mo asks about the girl they saw earlier, and Kusunoki explains she's just a friend. Then Mo invites her to go buy nets and baskets to catch bugs. Kusunoki agrees, though she still looks uneasy. She silently wonders if everything is okay inside the cafe. Inside, Maya looks around with excitement, amazed by the place. Rarisa tells her to calm down. Meanwhile, Shizuki is frozen. He keeps asking himself why any of this is happening. Rarisa isn't the only one here. Yamauka Maya, another classmate from his old school, has also shown up. As Shizuki turns his back to the girls, Rarisa watches him closely, surprised that he is really here. She feels like she owes his friends for the information. Before their vacation started, while Rarisa walks across the schoolyard, she hears Harino complaining that Shizuki has been spending all his time with his two new friends and lately everything seems to revolve around him. Harino guesses they must be enjoying summer break together, but Tsuji corrects him, saying Shizuki has been working at his uncle's shop. Rarisa sees this as a rare chance. Shizuki has been avoiding her lately, and she has no way to reach him otherwise. Meanwhile, Shizuki's uncle is surprised to learn that both girls are also his classmates. Jokingly, he asks if Shizuki is only surrounded by pretty girls and wonders if one of them is his girlfriend. Shizuki answers that even as a joke, he doesn't find it funny. Just then, new customers walk in, and Shizuki goes to greet them and guide them to the counter. That's when he overhears Maya asking Rarisa if that's the guy she likes. Rarisa confirms. This makes Shizuki uncomfortable, and while serving one of the customers, he ends up raising his voice nervously. Still in conversation, Rarisa tells Maya his name is Shizuki and that he's in the class next to hers. Hearing his name spoken like that instantly grabs his attention. Maya pauses for a moment, then asks Rarisa if they used to have a classmate at their old school with the same name, someone known as Shizuki the Loner. She says they were in the same class. Shizuki feels a wave of fear. He's terrified she might be connecting the dots. But Rarisa stares at Maya and asks who that is, completely unaware. This shocks Shizuki. She doesn't even remember. Maya is surprised too and asks if she really doesn't remember. Rarisa answers that she tends to forget people quickly. While this is happening, Shizuki stands in front of the counter dazed. A customer tells him they'll call him over if they want to order. Realizing how lost he is, he apologizes and steps away. As he walks, he thinks about how Rarisa didn't recognize him at all. He tells himself this is a good thing, that it's convenient, that he's glad. But the tears start falling anyway. The truth is too clear. He quietly apologizes to his uncle and heads outside to get some air. With his head down, he passes by Maya, who watches him go. She turns to Rarisa and asks what's wrong with that guy. Rarisa glances toward Shizuki and sees the way he walks with his head low. And in that moment, something clicks. A face from her old school flashes through her mind. She's stunned. She finally remembers who Shizuki really is. Meanwhile, Kusunoki and Mo are at the park catching insects. Mo excitedly shows off the mantis she caught, but Kusunoki seems distracted. Mo notices and walks over, asking if something's wrong. Kusunoki seems distracted for a while. She admits something is bothering her but doesn't explain further. Deep down, she hopes Shizuki and Rarisa can get along. Meanwhile, back at the cafe, Shizuki is surprised when his uncle tells him that both girls left right after he did. Concerned, his uncle asks why he left so suddenly. The question reminds Shizuki of the unease he felt earlier, especially after hearing Rarisa didn't even remember him. He brushes it off, saying nothing happened and apologizes for leaving so abruptly. He realizes that even though Rarisa didn't recognize him, nothing about his current situation has really changed. Later, while wiping down tables, his uncle walks over and tells him he can head home. Shizuki tries to refuse, but his uncle insists on handling the closing shift and even suggests he eat something sweet to cheer up. In the storage room, Shizuki feels completely lost, not just because of how he acted, but because he ended up worrying his uncle too. Later on, walking down the street, he considers stopping by a shop to buy a manga and lift his mood. But just as he looks up, he unexpectedly runs into Rarisa. She greets him casually. Shizuki is surprised to see her and asks what she's doing there. She says she's been waiting for him, which shocks him even more. She tells him there's something she wants to talk about. Shizuki walks past her, saying he has nothing to discuss with her. She calls him cold, especially considering how well they got along back in middle school. Hearing that makes Shizuki freeze. He realizes she does remember him after all. He tells her they should go somewhere else to talk. Later, as they walk toward the park, Rarisa tries to make small talk, but Shizuki stays silent and just follows behind her. At one point, she asks what is wrong and why he looks so sad. In a low voice, he asks if she remembers him. Smiling, she asks what he means. Agitated, Shizuki tells her to stop pretending and to speak clearly if she has something to say. That's when Rarisa recites their old school's name and his class, asking if he is not that same Shizuki. He freezes when he hears it. She says she guessed correctly, claiming it was obvious from the way he looked at her. Still, she admits she wasn't completely sure at first. Rarisa confesses that she didn't realize it at first, but she remembered the moment he walked out of the cafeteria. She walks closer and tells him he's changed a lot, which is why she didn't recognize him at all. With a smile, she congratulates him on his high school debut. Shizuki steps back, shaken, and tells her not to mock him. As he moves too suddenly, he slips and falls. Rarisa casually walks over and touches his cheek, asking if he is okay. But Shizuki forcefully pushes her hand away and covers his face with his own. She calmly asks if he feels sick because of her. His face turns pale. She seems to have hit the mark. Then she smiles and says he is easy to read, guessing that he hates her so much that just seeing her makes him feel sick. Shizuki explodes, shouting that she is lying, because she didn't even remember him. Rarisa quietly agrees but says that now she does. She tells him that back then, every time she talked to him, he would blush, which made her think he liked her. Shizuki cannot deny it because it is true. He was a lonely boy, and she had approached him. He liked her a lot. Even when everyone in class looked down on him, she still greeted him like normal, without any disdain. For him, she felt like a light at the end of the tunnel. She was the most popular in class, but she still treated him kindly. She felt different from the others. Or at least, that's what he used to believe. That's when Rarisa tells him that he was just idealizing her. She then sits down and asks if that's the secret he had been hiding. Shizuki asks what she plans to do now that she knows. He asks if she's going to threaten him or expose him. Rarisa looks surprised and asks what he's even talking about. She stands up from the bench and tells him there's nothing to gain from doing something like that. She assures him she's not going to threaten him, and she'll even stop chasing after him so he can be at peace. In a disappointed tone, she adds that she thought he was hiding some huge secret, but apparently, it wasn't anything impressive. She apologizes, then starts walking away. At that moment, Shizuki raises his voice and asks her to stop interacting with Kusunoki. Rarisa stops briefly, then turns back with a smile and says that it would be impossible. Later, out on the street, he realizes that all the effort he put into hiding his secret had been pointless because, in the end, she didn't even care. Thinking about everything, he can't help but feel like an idiot. While walking with his head down, he runs into Kusunoki, who looks surprised to see him. She tells him it's just a coincidence that they ran into each other, and tries to explain that she had been playing a lot with Mo, and was just walking around the area. Shizuki, noticing her reaction, tells her there's no need to lie. He can easily tell she had been waiting for him. He starts walking, and she follows, explaining that when she saw Rarisa arrive at the cafeteria and noticed the anxious look on his face, she got worried. Shizuki admits that he feels scared and pathetic. Kusunoki shifts the conversation and asks if he's thirsty. He doesn't understand the sudden change in topic, but she insists, saying the job must have worn him out. She then takes his hand and leads him toward a vending machine. After buying some drinks, Kusunoki smiles and says nothing beats a cold drink in summer. Shizuki realizes what she's trying to do and apologizes for making her worry. She asks if something is bothering him, and he seriously asks how she deals with unpleasant memories. Kusunoki looks at him and says she dives into manga, anime, and games to distract herself. Shizuki laughs and says that sounds just like her. Kusunoki continues, saying even then, she still can't completely forget the bad memories. Even while doing things she enjoys, those memories come back and replay in her mind. She says she has also had rough times in the past, so she knows it's impossible to completely forget. But lately, she remembers them less often. Shizuki looks at her curiously, and Kusunoki gives him a smile, saying it's thanks to him. Since they became friends, she started having a lot more happy moments. By making more happy memories, the painful ones are slowly disappearing. After saying this, she hesitates for a moment, then smiles again and asks if he wants to make lots of fun memories too. From now on, she wants to be by his side. Blushing, she admits that what she said sounded a little cheesy. With tears still clinging to his cheeks, Shizuki tells her they will do that and play together. Kusunoki agrees. Later, as they say goodbye, Kusunoki turns, raises her hand, and with a bright smile says they'll have lots of fun during the holidays. Shizuki waves back, a bit embarrassed by the crowd, but as he watches her walk away, he notices a warm feeling in his chest. Despite the despair he felt after running into Rarisa, being with Kusunoki feels completely different. Shizuki can no longer deny it. He likes Kusunoki. Sometime later, Shizuki reflects on the past. Back in middle school, he fell in love with Arisa, the most attractive girl in class. Now in high school, his feelings have shifted toward Kusunoki, who is also considered the most beautiful in the class. This makes him wonder if he has a weakness for pretty girls. After everything that happened with Arisa, he had promised not to fall for another pretty face. He had started to distrust girls like that. But now, it seems he's repeating the same mistake. Even so, he knows what he feels about Kusunoki is different from what he felt for Arisa. Still lost in thought, his phone suddenly rings. When he checks it, he finds a message from Kusunoki with a cheerful idea. She suggests a beach trip. According to her, it would be the perfect way to enjoy the holidays, and the ocean could help ease their minds. Shizuki, however, thinks it's a terrible idea. The two of them alone on a beach is definitely not something he can agree to. He replies by saying that only two of them going to the beach felt a bit odd, and Kusunoki agrees, saying it would be more fun if more people came along, so she planned to ask Mo. That's when Shizuki starts to panic. Things just got worse, now it would be him with two girls. To fix it, he says he'll bring his friends too. Kusunoki is surprised and texts back saying she doesn't want any other boys to see her in a swimsuit except for him. This catches him completely off guard and shakes him a little. While he's still trying to figure out what she meant by that, his phone buzzes again. Kusunoki apologizes for being selfish and agrees to let others come. Shizuki, thinking it over, tells himself her words probably don't mean anything. Then he flops back on his bed, realizing he's being pulled in by Kusunoki again. Meanwhile, Kusunoki invites Mo right away. Mo hesitates since going to the beach means wearing swimsuits, and she's about to say no. But when Kusunoki mentions Shizuki hasn't been feeling well and this trip is to cheer him up, she starts to reconsider. Kusunoki adds that if Mo doesn't come, Shizuki won't invite his friends, and it'll just be the two of them. That's enough to convince Mo to join. Kusunoki also invites her to go buy swimsuits before the day of the trip. Later, while shopping, Kusunoki shows Mo a cute cow-patterned swimsuit, but Mo immediately rejects it, saying it looks weird. She then pauses to look at Kusunoki's chest and comments that Kusunoki seems to be well endowed. Ignoring the topic, the girls continue browsing and eventually pick out their swimsuits. After that, they leave the store. Mo is exhausted while Kusunoki looks radiant, proud of how well she did. Mo tries to say something but stops when she sees Kusunoki's expression. Kusunoki is gazing into the distance with a slight blush, wondering if Shizuki might like her too. She quickly apologizes for spacing out, and then invites Mo to grab a drink before heading home. As they walk down the street, Mo keeps watching her and thinks this is the first time she has seen Kusunoki make that kind of expression.
Alright, that's a wrap for today. If you enjoyed the video, hit like. And if you're new here, sub before the algorithm forgets I exist. Drop your favorite moment in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.